Hi everyone, it's Terry. Today I want to show you how easy it is to use your Brother ScanNCut and the Brother Canvas Workspace to work on your embroidery projects that are appliqué. Now I happen to have a big project that I still have to buy the fabric for, but I'd have cut some fabric and I just want to show you some of the techniques that I can use because I own a ScanNCut SDX 230D. Now there are models that are newer than my model, but my model is capable of reading stitch files like PES and PHC and PHX. The last two are files that come from your Luminaire or Dream Machine, and you're able to read the applique stitch line from the thread color from that machine. You can also read those same lines if you have BES4 software or you have PE Design 11 software, but that's another video. So what we're going to do first of all is let's retrieve the design. And the design that I'm looking at is called the Baltimore Balloons. And the design that I want to use, we'll just scroll to the PES file. And you do want to open the PES file and you want to see design number 8, which is the one that we'll stitch out. Now I have a couple of scrap pieces of fabric, but it'll give you the idea of how easy it is to cut that out and how simple it is to be able to work on a project like this if you have a digital cutting machine. So if you look at this particular file, if you go into the shield, this is what you would use if you were taking a file from BES4 like an applique and you had applied the cutting line in your thread chart from the Brother thread chart. And the same's true for PE Design 11. And then also from your sewing machine, if you have a design that you created, for instance, My Design Center, and you created an applique. This icon allows you to go in and look at all the individual pieces, all of the outlines, and then if you wanted to put a pin in and stitch that actual applique, and those are going to be stitch lines, so this is going to be like the zigzag stitches and everything else, you could do that. Now typically I don't use these that often. It really depends on what I'm working on and if I need to use that. So we're going to look at the SVG files for this project. Now the SVG files for this project are all grouped. And for me, I prefer to ungroup it so that if I wanted to cut multiple pieces, for instance, if I wanted to use this design and use it for cut several of them, like 1, 2, or 3, I would want to be able to ungroup this. And you notice that if I move this, this is all grouped together. Normally, if you want to ungroup something, you can go into Object Edit and you can choose Ungroup. But see, it doesn't allow you to do that. So how do you get around it? Well, it's very easy. All you need to do is to choose Save, and you can save this to your computer for Brother Canvas Workspace. Now let's go ahead and let's look at the computer and let's see what we have. So I've logged in to Brother Canvas Workspace. Now remember, Canvas Workspace is free. And the nice thing about it is you'll notice there are several projects here. You can get the recipes for those projects and you can cut out those designs. And just because it shows it's a paper project or something else, think outside of the box because you can use many of these designs on your embroidery machine. So what we're going to do is go to My Projects. Here's the file that I want to retrieve, and I'm going to select the icon right here. And when I select that, it's going to open up on the screen. Now, if I go and try to select this, you'll notice it's all grouped together. So I'll go to Edit. And with Edit, I want to ungroup it. Now I can move these pieces individually out and away from one another so I can take my fabric pieces and cut them out. So I've just moved them around a little bit so that I can see them. And now what I want to do is to save this. So how do we save this for our ScanNCut? Well, let's go into download. And what we want to do is transfer it to our ScanNCut. It's that easy. So now this file is ready on the ScanNCut. So let's open it up. We will be using the low tack adhesive mat, and what I've done is I've attached my fabric to this mat, and you can see if we pull this back, I actually have the paper from the heat and bond on the back. So you want to leave that attached to the back, don't pull it off, and you can cut through all of these layers. So we'll retrieve our data. We'll retrieve it from the internet, and here's our design. Now we want to scan. So let's choose scan and go ahead and load the mat and scan. Make sure that everything is on your mat and secure. As we're going to move the pieces into position. Now I'm going to move them out of the way so I know exactly what I'm dealing with, and make sure that I get them positioned correctly. I do know that's the leaf. And let me move it over. You'll have a little red box around the outside of this. This is a flower, and that is the fabric for that particular flower. This is my bird. And if you need to edit it and rotate it so it'll fit on the fabric, you can do that. We'll go into edit. We'll go to Object Edit, and we want to rotate this. So let's choose Rotate. And what I'm going to do is move this to the left and 1 degree and 10 degree increments. And I moved it too much, so let me move it back to the right. And let me see if I can move it back into the position for this piece of fabric. And that looks pretty good. Looks like I have everything on the fabric, so I'll choose OK. Now I need to move my other pieces. So I know this is one of the flowers, and this is the wing for the bird, so we'll move it as well. We'll choose OK. We're going to select that we're going to cut, and I need to go ahead and put my blade on the machine. I'm going to remove the protective cover. Now that the blade is in place, if I wanted to, I can do a test cut. A test cut will assure that you're actually cutting your fabric correctly. So if I choose test, and what you'll get is a symbol. You can see this little symbol here that is very, very small. It's in a red box. I'm just going to move it to the bottom of that piece of fabric for the bird. Make sure that everything is set up for auto, so I'll go ahead and choose start. So I'll zoom you back out. So the machine is doing the test cut. And now what I need to do, without removing this from the machine, I want to go ahead and pull this up, and it's easier just to pull up this piece, and you can see that's a nice clean cut. So the paper stuck, don't worry about the paper stuck to the mat. We'll get that off in a minute. So now we're ready to go ahead and cut out this applique. To cut the pattern, we need to press start. Your machine determines the depth of the fabric and applies the amount of pressure needed in order to cut this out successfully. I really have not had to go in and make any adjustments for this. Now, I find it's easier, first of all, to go ahead first and pull the excess away. Sometimes you'll find something that maybe did not cut out, and you may need to take some scissors and just trim it. But you notice that all of these are perfect cuts. Everything is a perfect cut. Now, to remove these from your mat, what you want to do is to take your scraper, and you might find that your paper is coming loose. That you don't need to worry about that. One of the things with the Heat and Bond is you can place it directly against the mat and you can cut. Not all of these products are products that you can place on the mat. Ask me how I know. And that's the reason why I just went ahead and cut through with the paper and used the black blade, because I have found that that's successful. I get beautiful cuts each time. Now, what if you did not want to use a product like the Heat and Bond Light? Well, you have another option. There's a new fabric mat, and you can use that. To change the blade again, we're just going to remove the cover. We'll press it in and close the door. It's that easy. So your machine is now cutting that. This mat is very sticky. My recommendation is to use the spatula. Go ahead and remove all of your fabric from the outside of your cut. And then you can go ahead and remove your applique pieces. Take care when you're doing that, because you don't want to have frayed edges. I'll zoom you in so you can see what the edge looks like. It's a fairly clean cut, but I really did give this a heavy starch with Best Press. If you don't, then you are going to have frayed edges. I want you to see the difference in the hand of the appliques. This is Heat and Bond Light, and I find that it's a very desirable product. There are other products that are out there. Then this is a piece that was cut using the fabric mat, and you can see it doesn't have quite as much body. So if you don't want to have the weight of having a fusible, you know that you can use the fabric mat, but you also know that you need to make sure that you use a starch alternative on it. Now, I use a mister bottle like this to make sure that I have a fine mist, and I fill it up with my Best Press. I hope this video has been helpful for you. I'd like to give thanks to my sponsor, Moore Sewing Center in Southern California. Please join me in my Facebook group, Just Stitching with a Brother Luminaire, or join me on YouTube at my channel, and you'll find me under the name Terry Maffitt. Thank you and have a great day.